please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. We are counting down to pre-open. About the SGX Nifty has cut its losses, now down only about 28 points. Ashwani, does that change the first trade? I mean, when we started the Bazaar, it was down about some 65 points. Now down only about 28 points. And of course, we don't know whether this is how the actual opening will turn out.
See, the difference between say yesterday and today was that you had a bit of distance till about 10,340, 350. Today we are sort of in the middle of the band. Asian markets, etc., everything is kind of ranging. Yesterday, things were down. So from there, engineering a short covering rally was easier. I don't think with a 20-point gap down there is an initial trade, because the market will not give you follow through with a 20-point gap.
Okay. Well, let's put some FNOQs on the table before the pre-opening rates come in. Manoj Muralidharan of Religare Securities has joined in. Morning, Manoj. What are you trading today?
Good morning. Good morning, Lata. Lata, we believe that since last 4 trading session, it is a bank Nifty which is tied to support the Nifty, and there is a ratio, the price ratio that works in between them. I guess 2.37 is a price ratio where the support is there, and the resistance might come somewhere close to 2.42. Simply saying that even yesterday's trade, when we had seen a long build-up of good 6%, if you see the quantum, generally a 4 to 6% is what it generally adds. So we believe that bank Nifty has got more potential on the upside. I guess 24,730 roughly on the futures is what might be the max low, and on the upside there is a potential to touch 25,200 also in today's trade. So a better strategy, since this is expiry day, you buy a 25,000 call option for today's expiry. I guess you get it as cheap as maybe 30 to 40 rupees. No stop loss on that, because you need to wait the whole day, and we are expecting a target close to 160 on that.
Okay, and what about some of the stocks? What would you be looking at today, Manoj?
Morning, Sonia. Sonia, I guess stock specific, we like Yes Bank. We would advocate buying there, because there is a good VWAP concept of accumulation going on, and we believe that 308 to 306, 316 should be the levels that the accumulation happens. The stop loss should be, let's say, 306, and we're expecting a target of close to 328 to 330. We like Titan as well, and we recommend buying there somewhere close to 865 in the stock with a stop loss of 856 and a target somewhere close to 880 on that, at least in the short term.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Manoj. Have a good trading day yourself. We're just about 20 seconds from the pre-opening rates, so might as well wait for that before we get more comments from our experts. We will have Devin Choksi as well joining us in just a bit, but for the moment, just holding out for the pre-opening rates. The SGX Nifty is indicating a bit of a cut, but let us see how bad it gets or how good it is when the market opens in a bit now. Okay, the first trade is coming in green, but okay, it's rapidly getting scaled down. Started 0.5% higher than Nifty, but now getting scaled down a bit to 1/3%. So anyway, it looks like it's, well, not at least opening in the red. Let's see how things pan out. Havells is up about 1.5%. That's a stock to put on the radar. Well, at the moment, Oro and Reliance and SBI are all opening in the green. More importantly, SBI, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank are all mildly in the green, 0.1, 0.2. So plenty of space to move. It's just the early trend, and now the gain has come down to flat. So Nifty not giving you a direction at the moment.
Okay, well, some stocks in the news, right? Wipro could be in the focus on the upside, because that deal where they've divested some part of their business to Ensono could be margin accretive. So Wipro is up almost about 0.3%. And a couple of other stocks, Goldman Sachs has in fact upgraded Jubilant Foodworks to a buy and downgraded HUL to a sell. So that would be interesting. Jubilant Food is now up almost 3.5%. Anything else that you've
Fertilizer stocks, as we thought it will be the case. So Nagarjuna is up 10%, FSCT is up about 5%, related space, of course, GSFC is up about 1%, Himadri Chemicals, we're talking to the management, that stock is up about 1% or thereabout. Vakrangi is interesting for the last few days now. In fact, this month, the stock is up 46% on Vakrangi. So after that massive decline, it's been a one-way journey at least this month, circuit to circuit. on that one. I don't know what's happening here. Fun and games for sure, but up about 5% right now. But fertilizers look like could be the space to watch out for, at least in the opening trade.
Okay, let's get Devin Choksi on board. Devin of KR Choksi Securities is with us now. Devin, hi, good morning. I wanted to discuss some of these spaces with you. First up, you know, in the auto space, M&M had an investor meet yesterday and they spoke about big plans in the heavy commercial vehicles, light commercial vehicles, as well as in the electric vehicle segment. From this pocket, do you like M&M or anything else in that space?
Good morning, Sonia. Any company related to the commercial vehicle business, I think definitely is sounding promising today. And for sure, the likes of Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors, Eicher, even M&M, I think the companies have got the plans to participate into this particular rally which is happening into the business for the commercial vehicle segment particularly. I would rather believe that I think yes, it is an opportunity and probably I think one will have to be selective in buying this particular opportunity to begin with. Maybe it's a 3-year journey as we see it. Post GST, we are seeing the distinct upside into the volume pickup as far as the commercial vehicle segment goes. Also believing that the way in which the state governments are placing the orders for electric vehicle, the buses, it appears that I think the likes of Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors would be favorably placed comparatively. So certainly I think within the basket, our choice remains with Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors to begin with, followed by other two. So it remains, I think, a positive space, I think, for investment for sure.
Okay. Good morning, Devin. Good to have you with us. I wanted to ask you about Venky's. Are you following that stock? I mean, what are they making? It's only chicken, right? But it's gone all the way to now almost a 4,500, 4,600 rupees stock. Yes, it is most likely to double its EPS this year, going by the first 9 months. But strong showing. You like the stock?
Good morning, Lata. Well, we have no coverage on this company, so wouldn't be able to give any view on the subject.
Okay, well, in pre-opening, Himadri Chemicals is another one. Remember, it rallied yesterday as well, and today too in pre-opening it's up about 1.5%. A lot of these chemical companies have been doing very well, Devin, and now there is an anti-dumping duty as well on Chinese chemical imports. Have you tracked Himadri Chemicals or anything in that space?
So my analyst has definitely worked on this particular company, and I think we believe that the opportunity wise, if you look at it, the company appears to be, I think, an interesting space currently. However, as you rightly said, I think many of the companies have started finding traction in the marketplace because of the China problem related to the chemicals, and I think the imports becoming costlier. So many companies have backward integration plans in the specialty chemical segment. We find that I think likes of Atul, likes of UPL, I think remain, I think, very favorable placed in this particular space. Even the MNC players like BSF, I think they remain quite comfortable and I think remaining positive as far as I think the outlook goes. So I think you can probably stay focused with some of the larger companies where they have the ability to expand the size, particularly because I think given the problem in which China is stopping the production, you would require the large size capacity to come up in a country like India, and that's where we believe that the companies with a bigger balance sheet like UPL, like Atul, I think would be probably better placed comparatively to add into the portfolio.
Okay, Devin, good morning. What about mid-cap IT? That's had a big run, in fact large cap as well, but mid-cap IT has been stunning in its move. KPIT, Hexaware, NIIT Tech, Tata Elxsi. Any thoughts here?
Yes, Anuj, good morning. We have been liking Tata Elxsi and KPIT in the IT space, mid-cap IT space particularly. KPIT particularly because of, I think, the demerger between the two businesses, the enterprise business and the other businesses wherein they have got the significant amount of IPRs that they have already filed in. So we believe that the ancillary business to the auto component segment, in which KPIT has got these IPRs, they would probably be the right candidate to bet on as far as I think the outlook goes. It is promising because many of the auto component companies, given the kind of electric vehicle drive and autonomous vehicle drive which is happening in the global market, they are looking at the IT companies who have got the patents to their credit. And KPIT remains very strong in this kind of an area. The opportunity size could be very big going forward. Of course, these patents takes time to get materialized, but we like this particular company particularly. Along with Tata Elxsi, once again, I think given the kind of space in which they are operating, airport modernization, even vehicles, which we talked about, I think this company is favorably placed in this area of activity and growing steadily at 20% plus rate of growth. So we definitely find these two companies with a good amount of merits, and we have coverage on Elxsi also. So I think we find this is comfortable space to add into the portfolio.
And finally today, of course, with the urea subsidy getting confirmed by the government, not that people would have doubted it, but it's come in, and nationwide launch of the DBT scheme. Will you like any of the fertilizer companies?
Not from a perspective of buying pure play fertilizer businesses, but yes, I think given the kind of opportunity that we are having because of the lower burden of the subsidies particularly, and in some of the case like RCF, you have got the monetization on the land side, I think, which is a favorable play. We find them, I think, relatively in a better play. In companies like GSFC, because of the specialty chemical segment attracting a higher amount of interest, once again, I think we find them a little bit more in a favorable space to look into. However, I think GSFC looks convincing. Other two, I don't know, I think, whether I would buy immediately.
In pre-opening, once again, it's the technology stocks that are leading from the front. Wipro, of course, is higher because of news flow there. But Tech Mahindra and a couple of others, HCL Tech, also doing pretty well. So Darshan, we've talked about this in great detail, but I wanted your thoughts on Wipro because it never really features on any of the buy lists generally. You think it could play a catch-up anytime soon, or would you prefer to stick with the other names like Infosys, TCS, etc.?
No, we stick with HCL Tech, TCS, Infosys and Tech Mahindra. Wipro is not a choice because the others are outperforming and will do so. So don't consider Wipro.
Pre-open rates have settled, 2 points higher on the Bank Nifty, 5 lower on the Nifty, and mid-caps in the green. Mid-caps have outperformed, of course, this week. Ashwani, thoughts here, and of course your 9-10 call?
Yeah, as expected, in the early going, if you are opening, very close to previous close, then the volatility is not enough to initiate trades early morning. Although going forward, you could have certain patterns and then trade on that basis. But first half an hour, I don't think you do much. As far as a trading call is concerned, I think with the tariffs, etc., and WTO hotting up, I think Tata Steel is a sell with a stop of 626, target of 600.
Okay, well, point taken. I think we still have 5 minutes for the markets to open, so we'll wait by and concentrate on another point which I once again want to reiterate, and that was the speech by Urjit Patel, which puts paid to some issues. The first point that he was making is that, to blame the central bank for every fraud that happens. Obviously, the central bank is not going to be ubiquitous and be in every space. So that's a very strong defense, and a defense you should completely take. It's impossible for the Reserve Bank to be in every nook and corner, in which case it could do banking on its own if it was, that all-pervasive and all-pervading. So that point, and then he also points out that very precise instructions were issued on 3 occasions to set right exactly the SWIFT communication system and its connectivity. The second point that he went on to make is that actually the Reserve Bank has very weak regulatory powers over the PSBs. Under the Banking Regulation Act, if a similar fraud had happened in a private sector bank, you could supersede the board, you could remove some board members, you could remove the CEO. You don't have any of these powers as far as the PSBs are concerned, which means they get away with weak managements. As well, because they are owned by the government, there is weak market discipline. A similar fraud in a private sector bank, the depositors would have voted with their feet, and that would put the management in shape. Here, because there's perennial sovereign guarantee, depositors don't vote with their feet. And I think the most important point he made was on the issue of not the fraud, but the real problem for the PSU bank. It's not the 12,000 crore fraud, but it is the 8.5 lakh crore stress assets, which also is not giving you the full picture. It's probably 12 lakh crore, and that is the point he's making, that the Reserve Bank is, has taken systematic, first the AQR 2 years ago, allowing the banks breathing space to provide for it, and now going for the IBC, first with 12 and then with 28 companies, and now with the remaining. Just get the trash out. I mean, you are not going to have power companies get enough demand in the next 6 months or 12 months. It doesn't look like it. Why don't you recognize that in the banking balance sheets? So a very strong statement coming in from the governor, and almost saying that industry leaders and thought leaders must stand up for, whichever is the right side. And in this case, I think he's making a very strong point that the Reserve Bank's February 12th circular is one last sweep against what is anyway not getting resolved politically or commercially. So, I mean, I would think that this is an important speech that we should keep in mind, and hereafter look at public sector bank reforms as well as economic reforms from this angle.
Okay, well, we just have about 2 more minutes before the market opens. So let's get back to stocks now. It's clearly the fertilizer space that's buzzing this morning. FACT, RCF, all looking pretty good. Nagarjun Fertilizers. And remember, stocks like FACT have actually put on quite a bit of weight this year, up 25% for the year already. Mitesh, anything from this space that you like for a trading pop today?
Yeah. See, the best bet over here possibly could be GNFC and GSFC. I think I've been liking both these stocks. Talking of individual levels, I think GNFC has corrected to about 400, given a bounce back. I'm looking at a bounce back extending to about 460, possibly even 475 on the upside.
What do you do with IDBI Bank, Ashwani?
See, IDBI Bank has basically collapsed from that rally. I think it's best ignored because it does not move in tandem with PSU banks, which could, move higher from here. So possibly you let that go and maybe concentrate on Canara Bank, because there you may have the impact of Canfin Homes.
Okay, talking about banks, in fact, the Bandhan Bank IPO also opens today, and it's a pretty strong franchise. Asset quality has been good. Devin, before the market opens, a quick thought on Bandhan Bank. Would you, advise investing here or subscribing?
Well, Sonia, I think I wish they left some amount of money for the investors to earn out of this particular IPO. The company certainly remains good on the fundamental part. However, the valuation wise, 5.1 times price to book, I think is a stretch valuation for sure. Most likely, I think it's a valuation given to IFC to get an exit out of this particular company. So that's where I feel that it may take some more time before which I think it becomes attractive enough to buy into the portfolio. Immediate gain probably may not be seen post-listing because of the stretch valuation at which they are marketing the company.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, Devin, about the bank rally as well. But, we have only 20 seconds for the markets to open. So I'll just come to you about, expectations of any forbearance. If that is the reason for the tailwind in the bank Nifty, then that clearly is not happening at the moment. But let's wait and see the market's verdict after it opens. At the moment, it looks like it will be flat for the Sensex and the Nifty.